Yango batata nina ni matushila Yango teni kumulu na chonga koto Nafichibi kwa kane kateka nirungu Amena zampe wose Yango batata nina ni matushila Yango teni kumulu na chonga koto Nafichibi kwa kane kateka nirungu Uyulungu ni Joshua uyawine wasalilwe ele omose afile Lekeni lungu atusende pagwa
Opening of new districts and the opening of roads and canals in Western Province is intended to make production cheaper. Amalizing after Mumishi, it means in the Nakagaya one long. Now in the Gumishi, no Shiabash, Yango for Bunga was Yango teni kumulu na chonga koto
Would you wear all your favorite hats at the same time? Well, we wouldn't either. That is why we suggest you use only what you need. Switch off all electrical appliances and lights in unused rooms. Remember, use only what you need and save power today. Switch and save. Zesco, powering the nation.
Apple Max. Take it to the max.
In my family, we strive to be responsible in order to ensure the well-being of our family. In the same way, I encourage my family to vote because it's their responsibility to do so as citizens.
That's right. It is our responsibility to elect our leaders without influence from our families or anyone else.
You have the right to vote. Use it.
We will vote. Will you?
Vote in the presidential election on the 20th of January 2015, starting from 06 hours to 18 hours. Carry your voters and green national registration card to be able to vote. The Electoral Commission of Zambia. Your vote, your right, your voice. Support peaceful elections.
Want to just get out of town with your friends and family? Are you having a corporate getaway and have no adequate transport? Then this here is what you need to listen to. A brand new 35-seater Yutong luxury bus is now up for hire at an affordable and negotiable rate. It comes fully equipped with aircon, TV for your relaxation, music soothing your trip, and DVD players to give you variety. Book now by calling 0955-0966 or 977-844-141.
What makes the new Yo-Yo Chipsy so unique? 100% natural ingredients. Nothing artificial. Just a pure experience of freshness. Chipsy potato chips. We know you'll love them.
girl, what's your name? Let me talk to you for just a minute. Where you live and what you like to do?
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
Okay, I'm just trying to get with someone real, cause you look so free, so let's chill. Have a drink with a guy like me.
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
A quality product from Californian Beverages.
Pure Jungle.
We're glad you could join us for the main news on Prime TV. To begin, we take a look at some of the stories that are making headlines. Critical fuel shortage hits southern province. HH campaign team attacked in Mongu as one UPND cadre is left unconscious. FODEP urges chiefs not to entice subjects to vote for their preferred candidates. In international news, 3 Egyptian police officers killed. For more on these stories, do join me after this short break. For the news in detail, my name is Gwen Mwila. Fuel shortage that hit southern province on Monday, January 5th, 2015, has entered the third day. A check in Mazabuka, Monze, and some parts of Choma found long queues at stations, the only service station with limited commodity in Mazabuka. And people talked to have expressed sadness that they have to move from one service station to another in search of the commodity. Details in the following report.
Hit part of southern province has now entered the third day. A check in Monze and Choma found long queues at filling stations, including SC service station in Mazabuka. And people talk to have expressed sadness that they have to move from one service station to another in search of the commodity. Some have blamed the PF administration for its failure to provide an economic roadmap for the country. While those that felt it is unfair to blame government could not be allowed to speak out.
It's not a problem with the government or the political whatever, no. That's the ZESCO that don't have power. There's a problem somewhere there.
Government and other stakeholders are yet to comment about the way forward, but for the time being, this situation remains unresolved. Martha Namanje, Prime TV News, Mazabuka, Southern Province.
Thank you, Martha, for that report. A UPND cadre in Mongu was left unconscious after he was hit with a plank by a PF cadre in the presence of police officers. Reports from Mongu indicate that UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema and his team were on their way to Mongu Airport when they were told to wait because acting President Guy Scott was in the area. Report states that Mr. Hichilema and the team were told to proceed. PF cadres attacked the UPND cadres and their campaign team. The PF cadres are reported to have hit UPND Provincial Trust, CC Imaseku. According to UPND leader Hakainde Hichlema, a PF cadre by the name of Imbawe Imasiku is the one reported to have hit Mr. Sisi Imasiku. The attack by PF cadres comes just few days when a UPND campaign team was attacked by PF cadres in Shuangandu.
And we were advised that we should use the other way, and we followed their instructions, the police instructions, so that we could take them. While we were coming to a helicopter, the PF thugs, in the full view of the police, came and attacked us here, A known person in Mikendo, Imbraye Mikendo, picked a plank and hit our man. He's probably killed the man. Here's the stick he used. Unprovoked. We were just coming to a helicopter. Unprovoked. Completely unprovoked. This is the thuggery we've been talking about in the PF. Imagine this is a public airport. And we waited. We were obliged. Very far from here until we were advised to come and board the helicopter. And as we were about to board, as I said, they came and attacked us. A known person, Imbraye Mikendo, has killed somebody. I'm not too sure if that person will survive. And the police have not arrested him. Instead, the police whisked him.
Intimidation and violence in the country has continued making headlines. More and more people from various political parties, especially the ruling Patriotic Front and the opposition United Party for National Development, UPND, falling prey to violence. On Tuesday, some PF cadres were harassed by some UPND cadres who blocked Lusaka Moze Road, going on a rampage inspecting motorists with PF branded vehicles or stickers whom they would allow to use the road. We have more in the following report.
With only a few days before the country goes to the polls on January 20th, 2015, political violence and intimidation in the country has continued to hit headlines. More and more people from various political parties, especially the ruling Patriotic Front and the opposition United Party for National Development, have continued to fall victim to this violence. On Tuesday, some PF cadres were harassed by some UPND cadres who blocked Lusaka Moze Road, going on a rampage inspecting motorists with PF branded vehicles or stickers whom they could not allow to use the road. And PF official who was at the scene condemned the violence and blamed it on UPND cadres.
Back to Choma, on my way, that is between the Catholic Church and the stadium, the makeshift market. We saw some UPND cadres throwing stones to each vehicle they see that has a sticker for PF. So I decided to come back for safety. That's why I found me here. And my humble appeal to these other political parties. As PF, we are not a violent party. That's why we could not retaliate. We have the muscle to retaliate, but we have respected ourselves.
And in reacting to the violence, UPND Deputy Spokesperson Edwin Lifwekelo called on the cadres to restrain themselves from the violence.
I'm aware that our youths are having difficulties, like I said, to restrain themselves. But we should not go to the extreme of stopping any other leader from other political parties other than UPND to campaign freely according to the rules and guidelines. Our view is that to the UPND members, I want to appeal that you must be as peaceful as possible. Don't retaliate. I've heard of reports, yes, where our cadres, want to retaliate, blocking roads and that kind of an arrangement. I think that it's not on. We must be different from the PF.
And the women from the UPND also added their voices.
Sad to see what is going on in our country. We are really touched and affected as women in UPND. We feel enough is enough.
They are arresting UPND or it is everyone in Zambia? Whoever promotes violence, we condemn that. Any reasonable woman in Zambia, as we know that as women we are the majority voters. Women in Zambia, wake up, because this violence will not end.
With less than 14 days to the polls, the country has seen an escalation of violence, and one wonders what will happen on the actual election day. Martha Namanje, Prime TV News. Monze.
The Foundation for Democratic Process, FODEP, has charged that all chiefs endorsing presidential candidates must not entice their subjects to vote for candidates of their choice. FODEP Executive Director McDonald Chipenzi says it should be noted that chiefs are endorsing presidential candidates as individuals and have no influence on their people. He says the law must not hesitate to take its course on a chief who has endorsed a candidate and inciting people in the area to vote for their preferred candidates. Mr. Chipenzi says people in all areas where chiefs have endorsed their preferred candidates have their democratic rights to vote for their best candidates and not follow what their chiefs want.
Was under the laws, the electoral code, under the code, no traditional leader, be it a headman, a chief, or whatever you can call them, induna, who is supposed to coerce other or the subjects from voting, from not voting the person that they feel is the best. So that one is is very clear in the law, and therefore want to appeal to our chiefs that as they endorse, they must be mindful that they should not force their candidates or their subjects to do to force them to follow their endorsed candidates. Secondly,
meanwhile, Mr. Chipenzi has appealed to the Ministry of Education to allow teachers on holidays to vote first before reporting for work on or before the 12th of January 2015 when the schools officially open. He says this will be cost-effective and encourage most of the teachers to exercise their right to vote. Mr. Chipenzi says it will be expensive to most teachers to go back to their various voting centers to vote in the coming by-elections just after opening schools. He says some teachers serving in far-flung areas like Zambezi, Chavuma, Kaputa, Shangombo, but registered in other parts, need to travel and vote. Mr. Chipenzi says some teachers were posted after 2011 elections when the last registration was conducted and did not register in areas they are currently serving in.
I want to appeal especially to Ministry of Education and even other ministries is that they should be magnanimous by allowing their officers to report late for work, especially Ministry of Education, in the sense that 20th January will be a holiday, and that is Tuesday. And the schools, if they open now, it means that they will be disturbed on the 20th. So why can they push the opening to the next week after 20th? If they want, they can extend the closing by a week because they would have lost a week. So our appeal to the Ministry of Education is that let them postpone the closing date to the next week after the election.
The Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, says it has been holding talks on how it can issue certificates of authority to allow journalists to vote from any place of the country. ECZ Public Relations Manager Chris Akufuna says the certificates are meant to allow journalists and other officials to vote from other parts of the country while on duty. Mr. Akufuna has clarified that the certificates will not be issued for the coming by-elections. He says there is need for all institutions that will be issued with the certificates of authority in other elections not to misuse the powers that will be given to them. Mr. Akufuna said this in an interview with Prime TV News in Lusaka.
As things stand, the certificate of authority to vote is being issued only to officers working under the ambit of the Commission, because these are within the control of the Commission. for anyone else and for other organizations, they really have to make their own arrangements. It has to be a foolproof move, and it's a system which should not be abused, and I think that is the main concern of Commission. So until we come up with such a move, we will have to make do with what is available right now. We will only issue to those that we have, but it's an area that we have been talking about. But until we have really a foolproof method, we cannot maybe say, yes, we're going in that direction.
We now take our first break, but still to come in the news. The Lusaka City Council has assured the public that all traffic lights in Lusaka have been worked on and are operating without any problems. More on this story, do join me after this break.
Opening of new districts and the opening of roads and canals in Western Province is intended to make production cheaper. Lighting it means in
Yeah, madam, nisiriza manzi.
No problem. It's very busy here.
Yeah, your sister, pamankala busy. Since you wanna kuziwa kapena nzaka vota kwa presidential elections.
Huh? Don't tell me. You can't afford to miss out on your right to vote. Elections are a time for you to choose a leader of your choice.
Your boy, Suzy, but voting is important.
You need to vote if you want to put a leader of your choice in power.
Oh, okay. But for many makamba for panga sense. Anyway, since voting station maningi time, your car is ready.
Zikomo, the car looks great. I'll bring it here again for another wash.
No problem. As long as it is not on 20th January, because I'll be voting.
Vote in the presidential election on the 20th of January 2015, starting from 06 hours to 18 hours. Carry your voters and green national registration card to be able to vote. The Electoral Commission of Zambia. Your vote, your right, your voice. Support peaceful elections.
Would you wear all your favorite hats at the same time? Well, we wouldn't either. That is why we suggest you use only what you need. Switch off all electrical appliances and lights in unused rooms. Remember, use only what you need and save power today. Switch and save. Zesco, powering the nation.
What's your name? Let me talk to you for just a minute. Where you live and what you like to do?
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
Okay, I'm just trying to get with someone real cause you look so free. So let's chill, have a drink with a guy like me.
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
A quality product from Californian Beverages.
potato sticks, freaky fries. Get that awesome crunch.
All traffic lights in Lusaka have been worked on and are operating without any problems. Most traffic lights were not working in most roads in Lusaka since last week, causing congestion. Lusaka City Council Public Relations Manager Mulunda Habenzu says the continued rains in Lusaka are what had caused most traffic lights to go off. Mr. Habenzu was speaking in an interview with Prime TV. He says there was need to put up electronic monitors to control traffic lights in the city, adding that this is to help reduce congestion caused when traffic lights are off.
You may be aware that just could put some prepaid meters on the traffic lights, and those could just be as a result of perhaps delay in terms of putting the units in the traffic lights. Then the others, there are no more, maintenance works which we conduct. Maybe because we have a problem, a small part, at that particular junction. I can give you an example of Manda Hill, at the bridge there. We just had a few problems there because we needed to have an electronic card, which was malfunctioning. So it was just a matter of replacing that, and also I should mention that we have another controller which we have put at Manda Hill. So there are these, small things that come up, especially during this period. You have these interruptions because of the rains. So it's not necessarily that we are failing to maintain these things, but we just have to continue, monitoring them, how they are performing.
Meanwhile, Mr. Habenzu says there is need for the residents in Lusaka to ensure that waste is disposed of in right places. He says the council always had a challenge in cleaning up drainage systems in the central business district, but now bins have been provided where people can throw waste. Mr. Habenzu says all street vendors should take an active part in ensuring that waste is disposed of in the public bins that are provided.
We are the generators of waste. And in as much as we have the vendors on the streets, we need also to really look at ourselves. How do we conduct ourselves when we have these things we call waste, or the things that are not really necessary for our use in our hands? We throw them, anyhow. And these are the things that get into the drains to choke, the underground drain. Suffice to say that we bought a pressure jet for us to be able to do the cleaning of the silt and, the rest of the dirty, in the underground drain, especially for the CBD. But that's not going to suffice if ourselves we don't restrain, in throwing these, foreign bodies into the underground drain. So basically, it takes all of us. In as much as we have the vendors, quite right, we're trying to engage the association to do the sensitization so that they can help us.
The Young African Leaders Initiative, YALI, has criticized all those demanding that the Constitution be subjected to a national referendum. YALI President Andrew Ntewewe says taking that route is a sheer waste of time and resources. He has commended government's intentions to pass the Constitution through Parliament. Mr. Ntewewe explains that passing the Constitution through Parliament has been viewed to be a much cheaper way than going for a referendum, a situation he said might cost the country huge of money. Mr. Ntewewe said this when he featured on a live Prime TV program dubbed The Oxygen of Democracy. Contrary to Mr. Ntewewe's views, most civil society organizations and Zambians feel that a referendum is the best way, as it will allow Zambians to come up with a document which themselves agreed to than taking it to Parliament, fearing it might be doctored.
Given the impediments and the problem of adopting the Constitution via a referendum, why don't we get consensus and get our Parliament to enact other provisions of the Constitution? And when we're talking about other provisions of the Constitution, we're saying, let the issue such as 50+1, the issue of presidential running mate, the issue such as that deals with the building of strong institutions of governance, such as the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The issue that says everybody must be aware that on this particular day we're going to have an election. Can we get those get consensus, agree, and enact via parliament.
The 1.3 million Kwacha Constituency Development Fund for Rufunsa constituency, which was stolen, has been recovered. The 2013 CDF is said to have been stolen by government officers at the Ministry of Local Government and Housing. Rufunsa MMD Member of Parliament, Kenneth Chipungu, has disclosed the development to Prime TV News in an exclusive interview in Lusaka. Mr. Chipungu explains that after a long battle regarding the matter, the money was finally recovered, adding that those involved are currently on suspension. And Mr. Chipungu has announced that the funds will be channeled to developmental programs in the area.
To inform the general public that the 2013 CDF to the tune of 1.3 billion kwacha, or million kwacha based, has finally been paid into our account. Rufunsa District Council account. This money was paid to us last week. This concludes the matter that has been outstanding for a very long time. Well, this money was stolen in the Ministry of Local Government and Housing. It was not stolen from our account at Rufunsa. No, it was stolen whilst it was banked in the accounts of the Ministry of Local Government and Housing. So the people that stole this money are obviously the officers from the Ministry of Local Government and Housing. And I think from the reports that we have been getting, it's like those officers, some of them have been suspended.
We now take our second and final break, but do join me for the rest of the news after this.
Opening of new districts and the opening of roads and canals in Western Province is intended to make production cheaper. Amalaiti ngayaka mumishi. It means inya nje ndaka lagaya kwa ngubangu. Lamu ine kumishi nokushia bashi yango lefo yo bunga wa chama
Apple Max. Take it to the max.
Wow, I can't wait for the midterm break. I will sleep the whole day.
I'll be doing the opposite, staying up all night and playing video games.
Wow, you two have big plans, hey? I'll be going back home where I registered so I can take part in the presidential election on the 20th of January.
Wow, Lisa, why are you such a boring dope? Why'd you bother about such things? Even to the old people, we're young.
And that's exactly why we should vote. We're the future of Zambia, and the elections will give us a chance to vote for a president of our own choice. And this president will also address issues that we face as youths.
Okay, but she has a point. Imagine if more young people voted, okay? Our leaders would then realize how important we are to the nation, and then solve more of our issues.
Well, you see, as much as I hate to admit it, I think you both, what I've said, makes a lot of sense. I'm left with no choice but to consider it.
Vote in the presidential election on the 20th of January 2015, starting from 06 hours to 18 hours. Carry your voters and green national registration card to be able to vote. The Electoral Commission of Zambia. Your vote, your right, your voice. Support peaceful elections.
What makes the new Yo-Yo Chipsy so unique? 100% natural ingredients. Nothing artificial. Just a pure experience of freshness. Chipsy potato chips. We know you'll love them.
Welcome back, and now for the rest of the news. 2 Egyptian policemen guarding a Coptic Christian church in Cairo have been shot dead, witnesses and a local security source have said. Sources said the policemen were killed on Tuesday as they stood guard at the church. Another policeman was killed while trying to defuse a bomb outside a petrol station in Cairo, police said. Egypt's Coptic Christmas falls on Wednesday, and security is typically tightened at churches ahead of the holiday after a string of attacks on Christian targets over the past years. Interior Ministry spokesman Hani Abdel Latif was quoted by state's newspaper Al Ahram as saying the attack in Minya was not sectarian. Egypt's Coptic Christians, who make up about 10% of the population of 85 million, have largely coexisted peacefully with majority Sunni Muslims for centuries. Kenyan prosecutors have ordered an investigation into the murder of a witness in the International Criminal Court trial of Kenyan Vice President William Ruto, who was accused of masterminding post-election killings in 2007. Meshach Yebei, described by Ruto's lawyer as a critical witness for the politician's defense case, was found dead and badly mutilated, according to some reports on January 4 in Western Kenya's Nandi district. Kenya's Director of Public Prosecutions, Keriako Tobiko, ordered the probe in a letter to police seen by the AFP news agency on Tuesday. The order calls for a speedy and thorough investigation to be conducted into the murder with a view of bringing those responsible to justice, AFP reported. Yabei disappeared on December 28, and a week later the local businessman's body was discovered in a river. For more on international news, we monitored Al Jazeera.
Editor-in-Chief Stéphane Charbonnet, known as Chab, and 3 other cartoonists are among the dead. 2 gunmen who stormed the building are on the run in Paris. They are believed to be armed. French President François Hollande has been to the scene and called it a barbaric attack. He is meeting with his security cabinet, and he says the shooters will be chased as long as necessary. We have some video now showing the shootout. This was a video that was uploaded on social media a little while ago. It shows a police officer being killed. We, of course, do not show you the point of death there. Now, this is where the attack on the offices took place. It took place on Rue Sepollet in the 20th district in central Paris. It's estimated that up to 18,000 people have taken part in an anti-Islam rally in the East German city of Dresden. The protests, organized by anti-immigration group Pegida, sparked counter-demonstrations in cities across the country. The U.S. Justice Department has charged 2 U.S. citizens with conspiring to carry out a coup against Gambia's president. Gambian security forces foiled the attempt to unseat President Yahya Jammeh last week. 4 people were killed in the attack on the presidential palace in the capital, Banjul.
That item will now come to the end of our news, but before we leave, here are the headlines. Critical fuel shortage hits southern province. HH campaign team attacked in Mongo as one UPND cadre is left unconscious. FODEP urges chiefs not to entice subjects to vote for their preferred candidate. 3 Egyptian police officers killed. Well, that's all we had for you on our main news bulletin. This has been Gwen Wheeler. Thank you so much for staying with us, and God bless.
Hi, I was just checking up some information on the Electoral Commission of Zambia website. Did you know that the Electoral Commission of Zambia has set January 20th, 2015 as the date for the presidential election? Remember that in order to vote, you'll need your green national registration card and your voter's card. Voting is the constitutional right of every Zambian citizen. Exercise your right by voting for the presidential candidate of your choice on January 20th, 2015.
Vote in the presidential election on the 20th of January 2015, starting from 06 hours to 18 hours. Carry your voters and green national registration card to be able to vote. The Electoral Commission of Zambia. Your vote, your right, your voice. Support peaceful elections.
Hey girl, what's your name? Let me talk to you for just a minute. Where you live and what you like to do?
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
Okay, I'm just trying to get with someone real cause you look so free. So let's chill, have a drink with a guy like me.
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
A quality product from Californian Beverages.
Potato sticks, freaky fries. Get that awesome crunch.
Would you wear all your favorite hats at the same time? Well, we wouldn't either. That is why we suggest you use only what you need. Switch off all electrical appliances and lights in unused rooms. Remember, use only what you need and save power today. Switch and save. ZESCO, powering the nation.